The Leafs should be in a position here where you got to take advantage of home ice with them playing last night.
Yeah, it's just one of those games with the Leafs. You think that they've won 2 in a row, and you'd think, okay, there's still kind of negative chatter about their starts and their second periods and their overall play. Maybe tonight's going to get it together, but it just wouldn't shock me if tonight you're scratching your head more than you have the whole season, because this is kind of what they do.
It's kind of the theme of the league right now, though. Top or bottom. Like Florida woke up, what are they, in 15th place right now?
No, dead last. 16th in the East. At what point do they panic? At what point do they panic?
Yeah, but they're 2 games away from being in third.
They're a win away from being in the playoffs. I understand it, but they got pumped last night in Anaheim.
Yeah, Anaheim's good.
I'm not okay, but here's the thing, Noodles. I'll give you that. Were they in the playoffs last year? Like everyone keeps saying, well, they weren't playoff teams last year, so which one is it? It's the same thing with the Leafs. Utah wasn't in the playoffs, but and it's this team wasn't in the playoffs. I think we got to shift away from what teams were last year, and that might have to include Florida.
That's fair.
Like if we're resetting everything, that has to include the champion team too, right?
But I also think we've seen, like, the Florida Panthers have a long record. I'm not worried about the Florida Panthers. They've got a long record. See,
that's where I disagree, Jamie, and I hate to interrupt that comment.
No, go ahead.
If we're going to go ahead and reset everything, I don't think your past pedigree has anything to do with anything right now. If you're looking at significant injuries with Barkov and Tkachuk out for basically the season, I think, and going to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, I don't think there's going to be situations where you can toss in a team, whether it be Toronto, Tampa, Florida, and just say, I don't worry about them because they're getting to the playoffs automatically. And it might not be those 3 teams, but I think there's some good teams that have that DNA and the benefit of everybody giving them that they're good enough and they have enough talent that they've always gotten there. There's some teams that are going to miss. And that's just the plain truth of it.
I just think that they know how to win. They're not.
Oh,
worried.
I don't doubt that, but sometimes you're just out of bodies and out of gas, and I'm not saying it's going to be Florida. I think there's a couple good teams in the league where in the past we've kind of given them a free road. I don't know if it's LA or who it's going to be, but there's going to be some good teams in the past, and I don't know who it's going to be, but they're going to miss.
But LA's different though, the way that their team is made up. Like they actually changed the structure of their team. They got older and slower in the offseason, so I could see.
Then that's the GM's fault.
100%. I'm not disagreeing with you, but in November, what are we, 5th? I'm not worried about the Florida Panthers. They're out west. Mm-hmm. Like their schedule hasn't been great, and they played not a lot of games. But yeah, I mean, that game, they were ahead in that game against Anaheim last night. I didn't check to see how many of those were empty netters. I saw.
Well, it got carried away late, and
it was 5-4.
They lost 7-3, I believe it was in the end.
It was 7-4.
7-4.
It was a 5-4 game. I think there might have been 2 empty.
But even
netters.
Bob, like his stats haven't been great. He's got a sub 900 save percentage, and I think with Florida, I think it'd be silly to be at that point where you're selling stock on them.
Dude, I never said I was.
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you though that at some point it's going to have to flip a little. At some point you're playing with fire. The idea that I know I'll get it together because Barkov is not coming back, and that's a big shift because Bennett's struggling, and Bennett, it's a big difference being insulated and playing 16 minutes against the second pairing and being the top dog. Lundell, the same thing. We heard it forever. Best third-line center in the league. Accurate.
Right.
Is he the best second-line center in the league? No, probably not. So it's a jump. It's a big jump. They're missing some defensemen. Bob's not young. He's played more hockey than anybody in the league. So these are all things that if it goes south, the reasoning actually won't be that hard to understand. It'd be different if Barkov and Tkachuk and everyone were healthy but they're not. So,
and Brian, throw in what we talked about yesterday, the parity, the watering down. What was your words? The
dilution of the league.
Dilution, and yours was watering down, correct? The dilution of the league.
I've came with watered down for at least 3 or 4 years.
So
at least.
You're right. Like you look at just the Eastern Atlantic Division, like none of those teams you could say, like Buffalo has to prove it. I'm sorry. They have to go out and prove it for us. Same with Detroit, but Detroit's had a nice start.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal made the playoffs last year.
Yep.
Ottawa made the playoffs last year. Tampa made the playoffs like Toronto. Boston has to prove it again, but like there's not a team that's rebuilding and giving up. Every general manager in those 8 teams believes that their team can make the playoffs. So you're right, Brian. At what point do you start to go, all right, we're not going to just leapfrog 3 or 4 teams that are out and the dust will settle and they'll just slide to the bottom. So there is going to be the squashing up. I think the biggest concern for Florida is you can't get left behind. You can't, you're 2 wins away from being in, like you say, a playoff spot or whatever, higher up, but you can't get left behind.
One thing we haven't talked about, guys,
scary.
A lot is like age. Like a lot of the players that we've talked about,
older.
Like, yeah, they're older now, man. Like,
yeah,
Barkov was in the Freddie the Goat draft.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, and that's what you're seeing with Montreal. Who's dancing out there? It's Demidov. He's 20.
Dude, that guy's my favorite player in the league.
He is phenomenal.
I officially, you guys said you don't ask for stuff anymore. I want a Demidov hoodie. I want a Demidov hoodie, an XL Demidov hoodie with Demidov on the front because he's a stud. He is so good with the puck, man. He makes those plays in the power play where he's got a slam dunk. Watch this play. He's got a slam dunk, and then he gives it to somebody else for the slam dunk. It's just incredible. That's Kucherov-type stuff right there. It's just awesome to watch. And it's like he knows, like, the whole building's just watching him, and he knows how to rise in the moment. He's an unbelievable player.
Yeah,
they are young and exciting, but as we know with some young players, there is some – as the season goes on, there is some correction. There is some, adversity that they have to go through. Montreal looks like they're real. Like, and what I mean, I'm respectfully saying that. Like, I'm not taking a shot. They made the playoffs last year. They look like they're real. Like, their goaltending is held up. Their star players are taking another step. Slavkovsky, that top line is really good. But, it's when I look at this Atlantic, everyone's going to be lumped up. And to your point, Florida's 500 and they're 8th spot. On paper, by 1 point. Buffalo's got them by 1 point. Games are even. But let's see what this looks like 10 games from now, because it might not look different. It might just look, kind of the same, a little bit of jockeying here or there. I don't see one, like we talked about the other day, one person running away with it or one person completely bottoming out, unless there's more injuries involved, like you talked about. And you make a great point. Barkov and Tkachuk, those aren't third and fourth line. These are major pieces that they are missing, and they played a lot of hockey. So it's a fair point. I'm still not worried about them, but might be got my attention.
I think that's the way to put it. And I would think Paul Maurice is probably sitting there saying, this could be concerning too. If you're on the team, you're playing with a ton of house money. And it's an obvious crutch that they have, but that crutch will not recover anytime soon. Like, Tkachuk will likely return in January, but that's still, 20, 25 games away, I think, before he plays. Maybe more, and who knows what he looks like when he returns. Barkov's not playing. So everything's out of whack. Those are 2 monsters, monsters. You take them off any team, and then you parlay what O was saying, a year older, more hockey than anyone's ever played. The starting line where the cup hangover is real. I'm sure it is, and I can only imagine 2 straight cups. So like Florida, they're not 3 straight cup finals. You're right, but 2 straight wins.